are listening to Digital Denizens.
What's up, everybody, and welcome to the Digital Denizens podcast, where we live to discuss all things in the ever-expansive gaming realm. Today is March 20th, episode 27, and I am your host, Keith Whelan, aka the Gamer Stache. Alongside me, I am joined by Bradley Whelan. How are you, darling?
Doing well. Been a while since I've been on here, so it's
Yeah,
fun
man.
to
I know.
figured, it's overdue.
Gotta show your face once in a while so people still think you're alive. People are gonna think that I shipped you off in a box or something.
Exactly.
Got Tommy Two Fingers to do the dirty work and clean up the bloodstains, all right? All right, cool. We've got an intriguing episode ahead of us, full of loops, pixels, and nonsense. But before we do, remember, if you guys want to write into the podcast to have us read your funny anecdotes, interesting or emotionally charged video game stories, offer up ridiculous life questions like, what is an exquisite mirror? Well, you might know what this is if you've ever needed a 6% chance of deflecting lightning or magic damage onto a random enemy, or if it's been an extremely long bender that you may need one of these to see what your friends have left drawn on your face to shame over in the early morn. But if you just want to share with us what you're currently playing, we'll be thrilled to share your thoughts with the rest of the listeners. We're also trying out a new segment, which we'll get into a bit later. Scratch that. We've so the Pixel to Pixel, we kind of transitioned to being like our mentions and shout outs for everybody, and the people that I'm working with through New Game Plus Network, which is our resource community. And we kind of made the interview section. We're now reformatting that into new episodes of their own, which is called the Content Creation Corner. And this is basically to bring on streamers, YouTubers, podcasters, artists, anybody that's like-minded within the gaming industry space, that we can kind of interview and talk about what they do, why they do it, and what keeps them doing what they do. So this is so we can kind of help, you guys connect or ask questions. And, if you're looking to start your own channel or something like that, it's a great resource for you guys to ask your questions, or even just collaborate with other people. If you don't have somebody to do something with, it's a good way to meet new people. And if you're looking to get some gaming art or merch, we know some people. We know people. We know people take you out back and give you the boots medium style, or a nice T-shirt to walk away with or something. I don't know.
Really don't like what you're incinerating there.
Like what you're incinerating here. Don't be
do it better than I do. That was a terrible accent that I did, but
ashamed. Now, so we also have a new series that I wanted to mention too. We did one episode to kind of trial it, and I feel like it actually gained a bit of traction a lot quicker than I imagined it would. So it's called Next Gen. This is where we bring on a teen gamer and talk about the games that they're playing and what they think about them. And we're starting out just doing this once a month to kind of feel how it's going. Again, I think this got a lot more traction than I imagined it would. I think within like a couple hours, it gained like 20. So I was like, all right, well then I guess this is going to be a thing now. So we had Leslie Morales' daughter. She is head of Sector 7 Item Shop. She does gaming art and merch and everything. And she's 15, and she kind of talked about some of her games, and I was really impressed because she was playing Final Fantasy VII Remake, Octopath Traveler, yeah, and I think Overwatch. So those were like her 3 games that she's playing right now. And I was like, damn, are other kids playing these games? She was like, well, some of them, but not most of them. And I was just like, probably Fortnite. Damn. She's like, gross.
Good God, Fortnite. The
So,
rapist of teen gamers.
yeah. So
Probably
yeah, it was.
get some flack for that, but yeah, it's like
Oh well. Um, but yeah, no, that was really cool to bring her on. You guys should check out that episode. Those are that was episode 26. So I'm debating whether to do those as like their separate episodes, but they are sort of like kid friendly as well. So we're not like, doing our normal raunchy jokes and all that kind of stuff as much. Yeah,
You
not as much
filthy
cursing.
sailor.
Yeah, we're kind of curbing it a little bit that way to reach that audience as well, which is nice. Speaking of which, if you guys want to reach us and write in or ask us any questions, tell us what you're playing, whatever, we'll put the links down below if you guys are watching the YouTube version. You can find me at Facebook at Digital Denizens or on Instagram at digital_denizens. And of course, if you have any feedback for us, that is always appreciated and helps us to improve the show. So shall we dive right into it? Video games?
Yes.
Video games?
Mm-hmm.
Video games.
Why we're here.
Yes. Yes. What do you buy? What are you playing?
Are you?
Whoa, hold on a second.
Wait, am I supposed to go or what?
Did you just assume that you're going first? Yes? Is that how that works?
There was like this silence, an awkward silence, I would say.
Listen, buddy.
Well, we'll put it this way, right? I do want to talk. I mean, there have been a couple games I'm playing. So, like right off the bat, Metro Exodus. I'm finally getting to the DLC. So I did the 2 kernels, which I thought was great, but sort of ended, much more prematurely than it should have. I felt like it was really getting going, and then all of a sudden it was just like, oh, that's it. The credits are rolling or whatever,
Yeah.
So that was kind of disappointing in a way, but still really good. But then I started Sam's Story, and so I've been playing that on and off like the last couple weeks or whatever. Really enjoying that. As I've probably said before, I love the Metro series.
Mm-hmm.
It's one of my favorite, first-person survival horror games or whatever, I guess. And I just love everything that 4A does. Loved Exodus. Sam's Story is so good. I mean, if you haven't, if you played Exodus but haven't played Sam's Story, I would highly recommend it. It's fantastic. It's a fantastic entry on its face. Just if it were just standalone, you didn't play any other games whatsoever. But it definitely does pick up, after the events of Exodus. So there may be some spoilers in there, up at the beginning of the game, I believe. If you haven't beaten Exodus, that could spoil that game for you. So I would recommend playing Exodus either way. In fact, I would recommend playing the whole series because, I mean, why not? They did a really nice job of sort of like updating the 2033, which is the first game in the trilogy. And then Last Light is, by far one of my favorite, not only just favorite games in the series, but favorite FPS survival horror games of all time. It's just a phenomenal game from start to finish.
Excellent, for sure.
Yeah. So I've been playing Sam's Story, but the game I really wanted to get to tonight is a little game called Loop Hero, and I do want to talk at length of that. I've got some points to kind of talk through. For those that would be interested in trying that game, I would recommend it. But yeah, we can come back to that. I kind of wanted to touch on that and talk about that for a little bit. But let's why don't you tell me what you've been playing, man?
Ooh, okay. So I've been kind of like jumping around a little bit here and there. I haven't had a ton of time to play games lately, just with like running the podcast, working with New Game Plus Network, and kind of like ironing out a lot of the things, all the moving parts within that community. Because we finally got our Discord up and running, and so like if anybody's looking to get in touch with us, you can join on there and talk with anybody and get advice there and link up with people, whatever. But we're also getting like the website up and also getting individual sort of websites for each of our companies. and then like the Instagram and stuff for New Game Plus Network. So getting all that stuff up and running has been time consuming. But last night actually, me and the guys, AJ and Matt, who have been on and also Leslie, who have been on the podcast before, we were playing on Matt's stream together, Rogue Heroes, Ruins of Tacos. I mean Tassos.
I haven't heard of it. What is it?
So this is, I think it's on Steam actually as well, but we were playing on the Switch. And it's 4-player max, like top down, very like Zelda like the original old school Zelda games.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
I'm looking up right now.
yeah, it's like top down, kind of like dungeon crawler sort of thing. Like there's like dungeons that you can go to that have different levels.
Yeah.
And then like when you go through all of the levels, you end up getting like this seal to open up like this other like sort of dungeon or whatever. But there's like enemies that you'll fight out in like forests and things like that. And it's really cool because you have like all of these different abilities that you can level up. Eventually you can unlock different costumes that will give you different abilities. Like my character, I think, is the thief. So you can kind of turn invisible and then move really fast, and get around enemies. But every enemy has like a shield and a sword to start, and then you start like building up your inventory where you get like a staff that you can shoot fireballs. You get a bow and arrow. There's a grappling hook that you can use to like get across like chasms with these like there's like these sort of totem things that you can kind of grapple across to. There's like bombs that you can throw and things. So like a lot of that stuff is like across all of the different classes. But it's really fun, I think, the experience playing with like friends, because you can kind of revive one another at these different like shrines. So if somebody dies, you have to pick up their skull and bring it to the shrine. And
Oh, that's
like
cool.
yeah, and so like, but when you die, what is really cool is like you become a ghost and you can actually like inhabit some of the like booby traps in the dungeons, and you can use it to attack enemies. Um, you can also like haunt some of the pots and like control the pot and throw it at enemies.
That's cool.
And you can also go through walls and things, so you can actually kind of be like a guiding spirit for your friends, even
Oh,
though
that's kind of a cool mechanic.
it
Interesting.
is, yeah. And so there's a lot of cool stuff like that. There's a lot of different like puzzles where you have to like stand on like the buttons to unlock like a chest, which will give you like more gems. And the more gems you collect from these dungeons, you bring them back home and you can build up your town to like build a shop there. To upgrade your health, you can upgrade how much health you pick up when you pick up health from enemies. You can also increase like your attack speed, the amount of damage that you do with your abilities, and all that kind of stuff. You can have certain shops like craft different items for you that you can eventually keep. Because like going through the dungeons, you'll pick up certain, like they call them glass items, which I think is kind of like a Zelda nod actually. So you'll pick up like a glass boomerang or a glass bow and arrow, and that actually it's only temporary. So you keep that you'll keep that item until you die, and then you won't have
Okay.
it anymore. So it's like it's really cool. But it's just like a lot of the funny stuff. Like it wasn't last night, but it was one of the other streams that we did on AJ's stream. Matt died twice. The first time I picked up his skull, and there was a bat coming at me, so I threw the skull at the bat and it destroyed the skull, so we couldn't bring Matt back. He was just like eternally a
Yeah.
spirit. And then
I remember
AJ
you
did the
talking
same
about
thing.
that.
Yeah, AJ lost his skull another time, and then yeah, it was just like it just creates like really funny sort of like interactions and things between all of us. So yeah, like that game's a lot of fun. Um, so yeah, we played that on the stream. I've been streaming a little bit here and there. I've been doing like once or twice a week at most right now, because that's all I have time for. But I've been streaming Half-Life Alyx, and that's really interesting, I think, because I was able to, actually have the stream like with the controller. I can face the controller towards my face, and then I can see the Twitch stream and be able to like interact with people. And so, like Haley and her sister came on, and we had AJ and, some of the group and everything kind of interacting. And, it's just been like getting into it and getting very animated about it and kind of creating my own story as I'm like going along. So like all of the dead zombies or whatever that are kind of laying around, I've called them Jimmy, like Castaway, like Wilson. So it's just kind of like fucking around and just doing stupid shit and like, screaming like a girl and tripping over shit once in a while. And people seem to enjoy that. So that's like kind of fun, streaming that game, especially for people who don't have VR or understand what VR is. I think it really makes an interesting experience for somebody that may be like, oh, wow, this is what you can do in VR. Like, I think that's really cool. Also, I did an interview with VR Forward, which is a group that does like they do VR shows and venues and things. Like they have a true crime podcast and like a comedy show, and they do like open mic nights and stuff within Altspace VR, which is available on Steam VR and Oculus.
Yeah.
And last weekend, me and AJ went to, it was like a St. Patty's Day bash party thing that like they designed the whole venue, like decorated it and everything in VR, and had like fake drinks that you can pick up off the bar, and they had like 2 DJs and everything. And it was just interesting because like I was like, I haven't been to like a bar or a party in, who knows how long because of the pandemic. So I was like, yeah, this sounds cool. Like me and AJ told different people, they're like, what are you doing for St. Patty's Day? I'm like, I'm going to a party in VR. And they're like, what? This is interesting. And I was like, yeah, so I think it was
basically
really
like a new Second Life,
kind of, yeah. But it was really interactive. And me and one of the guys, Hunter, who works for VR Forward, he does like coding and designing and stuff like that. But him and I were talking about like VR games and all that kind of stuff. And it was like we got so into it to the point where like it was the end of the night. It was like 2 a.m. Him and I are having like an hour-long conversation, and then we both turn around and look, and everybody's gone. Like, like everybody had already left.
Nobody left. Nobody even said goodbye. They just left.
Yeah, like, and like most of the people who we knew were still there or whatever, but like other people who had joined in had left or whatever. And that was just really cool because it's like being able to create that immersion where to the point where like your mind is so in it that it's like being in that space physically.
Yeah.
So being able to do something like that, I think was really cool. Having music playing to the point where like sometimes you have to yell to your friend in the game to hear each other, like creating that bar-like experience is like, which is like one of the things most people hate about going to the bars. It's like, I can't fucking hear anything. I got to go outside to have a conversation. But in this, you're like, I like this, but I also hate it. But it's also great, but it's also terrible. You want to go outside and have a chat? But it was cool though.
Yeah.
And
that's why you drink in bars, because you can't talk to one another, so you just look at each other and drink.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh man. Speaking of drinking.
Yes. She is, my friend.
Cheers.
She is. Clink clink. But yeah, and like I had a couple beers while I was like doing the VR thing and everything, so like I was kind of loosened up and just like in it, So I think it was, it's really cool to be that they're creating these sort of experiences, especially like the true crime podcasts where people can actually join in the like in the stage, or not in the stage, like in the audience, and it's fully interactive. They can ask questions, and they were even telling me like people stay after the show and hang out with them for a little bit and ask more questions about the cases that they cover, like a murder podcast would.
That's cool.
And like, I don't think that I've ever really seen anything like that. A lot of it's like podcasts. Typically you write into the show and you might get mentioned or might get your question answered the next week or whatever. But a lot of times you're like, oh, that didn't even happen. So in this case, it's like, it's instant, it's like, it's right there. So
yeah, that's cool.
Yeah. So that was a lot of fun. Other than that, I've been playing here and there, Pixelot, which is a friend that I met on Instagram, and it's like turn-based, like pixel art, sort of Final Fantasy-esque type of game. It's like it's pretty simple looking, but it's also very pretty in its own right, and has a lot of complexity, I think, within the game itself that makes it kind of shine a little bit more. And that's from Kyle Berger, and you can find him on Instagram at iceburger3. And I'll put the links in the mention section or whatever. But that game is really cool. He gave me a free key for Steam, and I think that actually releases on March 31st. So you can play it on Steam, iOS, and I think Android as well.
Cool.
So, yeah, that's pretty much everything that I've been playing right now. So
Nice.
yeah.
Well, I wanted to talk about Loop Hero. And so yeah, just kind of dive in here. This game is, I would say, like an amalgamation of just various, mechanics and things that are sort of mashed together, create this really fresh and unique experience. So on its face, like, it's really simplistic looking, right? So very simplistic in its design, its pixel graphics and things like that, but it's got a really cool art style that I think is unique. Something that I really haven't like seen a whole lot of. In fact, it almost reminds me of like, I don't know if many people are going to get this reference, but it almost reminds me of Discworld in a way.
Sounds really familiar, and I can't.
Terry Pratchett. Terry Pratchett did a thing called Discworld like a long time ago.
Yeah.
And it and like art style wise, it almost like at times reminds me of that a little bit. It's not like, so it's kind of like simplistic looking. But I would say that like as you become familiar with it, you're going to start to kind of pick up and notice a lot of the carefully constructed depth that does exist there.
Yeah.
So just a little background on this, because I just happened to see this game. It came up I wasn't looking for this game. It just sort of like popped up, and I was like, I gave it funny thing. Like I actually looked at it the first time on Steam when it came out, and I was like, yeah, that looks kind of cool, but clicked away.
Yeah.
And then it like popped up again. Like one of those like creeper games that sort of like creeps into your view. The longer you sort of like push it aside, it like creeps in further. It kind of did that to me, and I was like, yeah, it looks kind of cool. Maybe I'll give it a try. So I did. I bought it. I bought it on GOG. And so anyway, just a little background on this game. The game was developed by a Russian studio called Four Quarters. From what I read, they started as like a 2-person team. They grew to 4 people, all of which are purportedly working completely remote from one another. Their only other game to date, from what I could find, was a game called Please Don't Touch Anything. And it was released in 2015 for the Switch, PC, Mac OS. And
I think I remember that game. Yeah.
I had to look it up because it didn't ring any bells, and I looked it up and it still didn't ring any bells. So I don't know. I could have just like missed it, but yeah, it's kind of like an interesting premise. You're basically like locked in a room, and you're presented with a like a control panel or something like that, and you're tasked with figuring out a way out of this room by like interacting with this control panel.
Yes, I was gonna say, yeah, that's exactly what I remember from that, was the room with the control panel and everything.
Yeah,
that's cool.
So from what some of the other research I was doing on this, because I wanted to find out like who are these guys, like how did they create this game. I'm always interested in like diving in a little further and like finding out like who the people are that created the game, why did they do it, and that kind of thing. But so they apparently started this as like sort of a minor project, from what I understand. Eventually, they came to realize that this idea that they had for this game was pretty unique. There wasn't much like it out there, and so they kind of like decided, let's go all in on the development on this thing. So eventually, they had a solid enough I guess content and just solid enough game, like a basis for a game, that they actually brought it to Devolver Digital. They pitched it to them, and Devolver Digital bit down, and they, the rest is kind of history.
They're really good about finding cool like indie devs like that. I think that's awesome.
That's the thing. Like Devolver Digital, like, not every game that they put out is like amazing or anything, but
Hmm.
but the but what they do put out, I think, is like really quality.
Yeah.
So I really have come to enjoy just kind of seeing what pops up from Devolver Digital.
Hmm.
It seems to be fairly random, but like always surprising in a way.
Yeah.
Uh,
They always have like the best conference too at E3.
oh man. Well, yeah, it's like I want to say like my first, and I don't know, it may not be true. I think one of the first games I played from Devolver was Hotline Miami, which was like
Yeah. Same.
freaking groundbreaking, like on so many levels. I mean,
Yeah.
it was just awesome, and I absolutely loved that game, and I loved the tone. I loved like the themes that were in there. I loved like
The music
you
was
know
excellent.
the music. The soundtrack was like fucking stellar.
Yeah.
And I think it probably did a lot for some of the artists that were on there, particularly boosting um, their fame and whatever. So
Hmm.
always good to see that type of thing.
Oh yeah,
Um,
for sure.
so anyway, so for those who don't know, Loop Hero officially released on March 4th in digital only format. Of course, it's currently available only on the PC, and that's for PC for Windows, on Steam, GOG, I believe on Epic Games. I might be wrong on that, but I know it's at least Steam and GOG for sure.
Yeah.
And it's also available for Linux and the Mac OS. So
Ah.
unfortunately, and it's at a price point of $14.99.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, there's no, I don't know that they have announced anything for Switch or anything, but I think it would probably be something. It would be a good game to see on that platform for sure.
So you don't think it's on Switch currently?
It's not. It's definitely not.
Oh, okay.
Just
Gotcha.
PC and Mac, yeah, and Linux
Yeah.
boxes. So
It looks like it'd be a really cool game for Switch, I think.
I think it would do well. I really do.
Yeah.
I think you could do with some streamlining if it were to be on like a console with a
Hmm.
controller. Because yeah, I'll get to that. But
Yeah.
anyway, I just want to say, of course, if you want to buy this game in the DRM free version, I'd encourage you to purchase it through GOG. I believe that's the only way to get it DRM free.
Hmm.
And I'm always like proponent for getting DRM free. You want to own your games,
Yeah.
buy it DRM free.
Yeah.
Um, it's the same price as is on Steam, but effectively you're getting it for less, in my opinion, if it's DRM free. So, um, also I want to mention this is really cool actually, and this is exciting for Four Quarters and for Devolver Digital. But this game I just read this week actually it sold over 500,000 copies in the first.
Holy shit.
So
In the
I think
first
this game
week?
in the first week, I think, yeah.
Wow.
Freaking
Damn.
amazing. Like that's incredible for like a game that came literally out of nowhere from like an unknown developer practically.
Yeah.
Um, to do that well. Obviously, I think having a publisher like Devolver Digital probably does does a lot to sort of like get the game out there, get exposure to the game, for the game that maybe if you just released it on your own or something, you may not gain that traction as quickly. So I think
Hmm.
that probably helped them. But that's really awesome. I congratulate the team on that. Um, and currently, it carries an overwhelming a Steam rating of overwhelmingly positive, and that's with like over 12,000 reviews currently. So
Damn.
anyway, without further ado, let's talk about this little gem because I'm really excited about this game. I've probably, I don't know, I've played a few days now. I probably put about anywhere from like, let's say, 8 to 10 hours into this game. So
Okay.
not a ton, but like it's definitely I've learned a lot, and there's just a lot to cover. So as far as the game description goes, this is taken right off of. You can go on Steam, you can go on GOG, whatever, go on the
Hmm.
website. Just so for those that want a background on this game. So the game description is this: the Lich has thrown the world into a timeless loop and plunged its inhabitants into never-ending chaos. Wield an expanding deck of mystical cards to place enemies, buildings, and terrain along each unique expedition loop for the brave hero. Recover and equip powerful loot for each class of hero for their battles, and expand the survivors camp to reinforce each adventure through the loop. Unlock new classes, new cards, and devious guardians on your quest to shatter the endless cycle of despair. That's the game's description. And I think the game is defined as a mix of sort of, a bunch of genres comprised of, I would think, adventure, roguelike, strategy, RPG, and deck building. It's a very old school, stylistic, like old school game.
Yep.
Um, it doesn't look like much. I would I would say like graphically, it's not gonna like stun anybody, but stylistically, it's really cool.
Yeah.
So as far as the story and narrative go, they basically like unfold through brief dialogue with the denizens. You like that?
Yeah. I see what you
Eh.
did there. Yeah. Okay.
Didn't tap that.
This is the
um,
land we came from.
exactly. Or survivors. I think they're actually called survivors. They're found at the camp,
Hmm.
and those people and creatures are also you'll encounter people and creatures like along the way, like in your expeditions and things like that, where you'll get like dialogue and stuff with them.
Oh, cool.
You get kind of like little like story beats and bits and stuff like that as you kind of
Hmm.
play through. And it's also at these points where I think that's kind of like the bulk of the experience. Like as far
Hmm.
as like getting any like story beats is just like those small little bite-sized things.
Yeah.
But the gameplay itself, the gameplay loop itself, which we're talking about loop hero, is you begin this journey.
You and the
You begin
puns,
it.
man. I can't take it.
You begin this journey at the campsite, right? So you're basically just this like, I don't know, like a nameless hero. Um, and the thing is like you have like no recollection of like who you are or like why you're here. Um, that's kind of the crux of the game. You like start out on this journey at the campsite, and as I think was mentioned, like the description, there's basically like two aspects to this game, right? So you've got the campsite, which I'm going to come back to later, and then you have the primary, I would say probably the primary area of the game, which is like the expedition, the game map, or the loop, as I'm going to refer to it. So um, basically, this is where and you're going to spend like 95% of your time in the loop.
Hmm.
And you venture out, you're on this map, and basically, when you're on the loop is procedurally generated, so you're not seeing the same thing every time. I mean, the mechanics play out very similarly, but the loop itself uh, changes shape and all this stuff and kind of things that you see along the way. But your character is drawn in a very like small 2D primitive white knight pixely looking figure that shambles, in one direction around the loop. You can't control, you don't have any control on like moving him or anything directly.
Hmm.
Um, the game's played by starting and stopping time, which is indicated to the player as two modes. There's adventure, and then there's the planning mode. Um, so the adventure mode is, basically you're moving about. Time is proceeding.
A mountain just crashed into our house.
I heard that.
It's fine.
Juggernaut.
We just keep continuing on. I mean, there's nothing we can do about it now.
It's the lich
It's
breaking
the
into your house.
it's the lich breaking into the house. Yeah.
Um, yeah. So the adventure mode is like time is moving, your character's moving along the loop. The planning mode is time is paused, it's stopped. It gives you an opportunity to, kind of do some actions, look at your gear, things like that. But the loop is represented like I would say like much like a board game. Like the whole game is actually kind of a lot like a board game in a way.
Yeah.
It reminds me a lot of that, especially like just if you just look up a screenshot, like you'll see what I'm talking about.
Yeah. I remember pulling it up and looking at that. Yeah. Like the different
Yeah,
pathways and stuff look like a board game.
yeah. Like the loop
Mhm.
is actually made up of individual tiles, and each tile is made up of a road, like a road terrain or road tile.
Mhm.
And all of those tiles can be those tiles can be changed with terrain cards, which I'll come back to in a minute. Um, but also, I'd say like the road tile. Well, every tile in the game also sort of like represents a period of time when traversed, right? So, like I mentioned, like time is moving, your character's moving.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'd say like this time element is sort of like the driving force of everything occurring to and around the player. It's represented with this day and night cycle meter at the top. In addition to the loop count meter, which ticks up ever so slowly. Each time your figure actually makes a complete loop, starting and ending at your campsite, at that second meter, it's a rogue cat.
It's a stampede of cats and stray dogs.
But yeah, so like that meter will climb each time you make a successful loop, and each time you make a successful loop around, the enemies get harder, right? So there's a lot of things that you get. So each complete loop, it increases the difficulty, improves the rewards, causes new enemies to appear on the loop, etc. Enemies do appear randomly along the loop tiles, and when the player and enemies collide on the map, it results in a battle.
So it's turn-based, right?
Yeah. So it's like, like it'll bring up like a new window, and then you'll just see your dude like fighting whatever enemies.
Yeah.
The thing too, like I want to mention here is that because I want to come back to some of this stuff. The game itself, I'm trying to see like where did I had a lot of these points here. There was a quote that I was going to read here that kind of defined this game, I thought, pretty well. Let's see, because I was reading this article over the weekend or over the week here, and there was a guy that was interviewing one of the co-creators of the game, and it's like he described this. Here we go. One of the co-creators of the game, who goes by the name of Blinch. That's Blinch. Kind of a weird name, but he described this game, and I've never heard this like game type or phrase used before, but he described this game as a 0-player game, or quote unquote a game where you don't control your hero or anything else directly. Which I have to say, like on its face, doesn't sound very appealing. It doesn't sound very exciting to me.
Right.
But for some reason, like all the elements that come together for this game, all those elements that combine to create this game, they just work. I don't know why. I don't know how to describe it, but they just do.
You're like, so is it like it's like a choose your adventure style game? You're like, no. So it's like a turn-based fighting game like Final Fantasy, sort of, but no. So it's like you're like, no.
$1 idea, but I can't tell you what it is.
Yeah. I got this great freaking idea. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. So one of the other things is that obviously this is a deck building game, and honestly, I would say this, like, as soon as I hear deck building, like I'm immediately turned off. Like I guess I'm just not one of those like people that enjoy those games. Like I never played Magic the Gathering. I was never into like, Yu-Gi-Oh. I was never into Pokemon, which
I think Hearthstone is very much like that too.
Hearthstone, yeah.
Yeah.
But
you play Gwent, my friend.
Yeah. I loved Gwent in The Witcher 3. I didn't want any part of it at first when I was playing The Witcher 3, but then I got about like 80 to 100 hours into the game, and I'm like, I gotta find out what this Gwent thing's about. I gotta play it, because I love the dice game, like in the second Witcher game.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yep.
That was fun. And then so I like kind of ignored Gwent like all through The Witcher 3, and then eventually like something happened, and I was like, I should play this. And then I just like absolutely fell in love with it. I think part of it for me with deck building is often I like associate deck building games with like really like a lot of complexity, and just like a lot of there's just a lot of like luck in what cards you get, and I don't
not
like
necessarily
that.
Built on stats or anything like that.
Yeah, it's not really like built maybe on like skill per se. It's just like what you got by luck. What's up, bud?
Nice. You got the queen alien. Nice.
It's a red one. I also
That's
got
awesome,
a White
man.
Master Chief.
Yeah. Very cool, man.
His tail was put on.
Cool. All right.
My kind of kid.
Yeah, man.
He's into aliens and everything. That's cool.
I know.
So yeah, it's like I don't know. I guess like I was saying. I mean, I was never into deck building games. They turned me off. And yeah, so I kind of entered this game with a little skepticism and really, like I said, this is not a game that's gonna like bash you over the head with like all sorts of crazy like rules and shit like that. It's not that kind of
Not
game.
super complex or anything.
No, it's like something that like you could easily pick up and play,
Nice.
and fall into like very quickly. I think I would say this, right? Like, in fact, it's the kind of game where like they don't really tell you much. Like, there's a brief tutorial in the beginning that maybe takes like, let's say, 5 minutes to complete, and then they're just like, okay, let you go, and you're playing it, right? But I think the greatest thing about the game and the cards that it does offer, in that it doesn't tell you much about them aside, each card's got like a little descriptor, and kind of what it does, and um, or what it is rather, not really like a descriptor per se, but just like what it is.
Mhm.
I think maybe it does have a descriptor. I can't recall, but anyway, there are like combinations of the cards that you can place down like in the loop on the individual tiles that cause random things to happen.
So do they work as like essentially like multipliers on your damage or something like that?
Some of the cards. So the thing about this game is that like it. This is where like I think there was a lot of like careful consideration in how it was designed. In that like, and I read this too. Like this may have been the same article or something, but the developer that he was talking to, this guy Blinch, I think, was saying that they were careful. They were very careful about once they committed to an idea with the game and the design, that they were very careful about not going back on that. So what I mean by that is they were, if they put something in, they, instead of removing it like you find in a lot of games where they're like, we want to implement this idea, they play with it for a bit, they really can't pull it off for whatever reason due to like, time constraints or financial constraints or whatever, or it's just like they just can't pull this one thing off. They eventually like pull it out and it's it's gone. They had the opposite approach where they were like, okay, there's an imbalance that's created here with this mechanic. Let's fix it by balancing it. So like they would not take it out. They would just like balance it out by
until they figured out how it worked.
Yeah, if they put something that like was really good, but there were no drawbacks to using it, well, they would find a way to put a drawback into it, and maintain that. So I think that's cool. Like from a design perspective, I can really appreciate that. Because that's got to be difficult. You have an idea, you really want to put it in there, you get it in there, it's not really doing what it should, what you thought it was going to do, and then you find a way to, engineer it in, and so I like that, and there's a lot of that in this game. There's a lot of balancing. I think there are some balance issues from time to time, I think, but for the most part, I think what is here is really good. It's a really solid start, at least we'll put it that way. So anyway, I want to go back to there's like the loop with the field with the tiles and things like that. Again, I mentioned you accumulate cards through your travels. Those cards can be placed down, on tiles. So the tiles where they can be placed is either like on the actual road or the loop map, as it were. They could be put like on the roadside, and those ones that have roadside abilities like generally have like an area of effect, so you can place them down and they'll affect specific tiles. And then there are other ones that are terrain based cards that go outside of like the main loop. Like there's like all this black, and you can like place them out there, and there's various attributes that those things bring. But yeah, and I kind of talked about like some of the combinations just briefly. Kind of, I don't want to like spoil anything for people. I think probably one of the best parts about this game is like actually like experimenting, like just dropping cards down next to one another and like finding out like if I drop like a grove here and then I put like a village next to it, like what is that going to do? You know,
Right.
like things like
Mhm.
that. So I think the combinations are cool. I just want to mention like there's like I'll just mention like maybe one of the combinations. Um, so like there's a card in the game. It's called the Vampire Mansion,
Mhm.
and I love it. Like when you hover over it or you place it, like you hear this like evil like like or something like and you could just picture like some kind of like creepy vampire like creatures,
Yeah.
inhabiting that. But it's cool. It's like a funny little like I think it's like a little cute, vampire mansion.
Mhm.
Um, but it says like, one of the combinations if you place a village next to a vampire mansion, well then it starts spawning ghouls, and after 3 loops, it transforms into Count's lands. What Count's lands are, I don't know. I haven't really like seen that yet, but that's what I'm talking about is like, there are all these cool little things that you can find out just by like experimenting with card combinations and things.
Yeah. That's cool.
Um, the other thing that's cool is as far as like the character movement progression I mentioned is like completely automated. The only thing that you're doing is starting and stopping time. That character figure is just moving in one direction around the loop. You can't control it. He just goes, right? And so what happens is like when the character figurine or figure crosses like over a place tile, it could be like a cemetery or grove, like I mentioned. The cool thing is like you also pick up consumable materials. So
Mhm.
like as you make your way around the loop and the days pass, you gain better weapons and equipment. The enemies you encounter, like I said, become more stronger, more difficult. And you mentioned that you fill up this like boss meter at the top.
Mhm.
So obviously the enemies are gaining levels, you're gaining equipment and levels, and then eventually, if you go around the loop enough times, it fills up the meter, and the level boss appears like right by your campsite, and he like creates
Okay.
all these like buildings around him that basically help his strength, right?
Yeah.
So if you are able to get to him and you can defeat him, the story progresses in a way, and then you like unlock some upgrades for your camp and things like that. I've only beat the first boss so far,
Mhm.
and it took me like probably a good like 4 or 5 tries. Like I didn't beat like get to him and die 4 or 5 times. I should just say like I tried to get there, but like either due to like my health being like super low, like I had to bow out and go back to camp before I
Yeah.
actually got to him to like unlock him. But eventually, like I got to him. He killed me the first time. Like he hit me for like 287 health like each time, and you don't have like a ton of health. So he like basically like I went into that like okay, like just to set it up. Like I had this like awesome run, right? I found some awesome gear. I was like killing everything in sight. I was doing like super well, and I'm like, fuck this guy. Like I'm gonna fucking own him. And I get into the match, and he just like fucking like bulldoze me, and it was just like, oh, okay. So that's how that went.
You're like, I guess I'm gonna come back to this one.
Yeah, and I was like, but it just like kind of like strengthened my resolve, I guess, and I was like,
Yeah.
fuck that. Like I'm going back in. Like it sucks because like
Transitions over to like an 80s montage where you're like you're like training. It has
exactly.
that, right? You're telling me it has that in the game, right? Yeah.
It might,
Yeah. Okay.
yeah, it might.
I'm gonna be disappointed if there isn't.
um yeah, but like so the game is like heavily like risk reward, right? So
Mm,
um like I've kind of mentioned, like you're going around this loop, you accumulate levels, you accumulate rewards and things and loot as you go. Now the risk reward comes into play because it's like I was just saying, like, you may be filling up that meter, getting close to basically
like fighting the boss.
well, yeah, like getting the boss to show up on the map and you can fight him, but like you may not be able to do it because your health is too low, you're not gaining enough health back. Even though you have like great equipment or whatever. And so like you may have to like bow out and go back to camp. But when you bow out and go back to camp, effectively like you can do it in one of two ways, right? There's flee, and you can flee at any time, doesn't matter what tile you're on. But when you do that and you're not by the campsite, you actually give up, or you sort of like you don't get to keep everything that you've accumulated as far as resources.
Okay. So you
So
end up losing some stuff along
yeah,
the way.
I think you get to keep like 60%, right?
Yeah.
The rest you lose, right? And it'll come up with like a little window, and it'll show you like what you get to keep and what you're losing.
Yeah.
But the other thing is like if you're able to make it back to camp, like to the camp tile, but you realize like, oh man, like I still have to go around the loop at least like one more time to get the boss to generate. Like there's no way I can do that. You can hit that same button and go back to camp without sacrificing any of your materials that you found.
Okay.
So
And then
that's
you can
kinda
like
cool.
drop them off or something, store them.
Yeah. Well, you don't lose. Yeah. So effectively, like when you go back to camp, like those resources are now like at camp. Like you can't lose them.
Oh, okay.
You go out into another run, you can't lose those resources. You just accumulate them, and they stay there.
Yeah.
But I do want to talk about the combat, right? Because I've been talking about like how the rest of the game plays out. So, you ready for this? We've talked about it. It's turn-based. You do
Yes.
absolutely nothing.
Wait, what?
Yeah. The turn-based is a very loose term here. It's turn-based, but you do nothing. You just watch your player or your character fight things. There's a little time meter under the character's health, and that just ticks up continuously based on your attack speed. And the same for enemies, and they just go back and forth and they fight each other, and then it's over. Like you could literally fall asleep and the game would just play itself. Which again, like I said in the beginning, like doesn't sound very appealing. I'm kind of like I said, on its face, if you were to be told that, like it's like why even play the game? But yeah, like I said, what's there works, I think what's represented in the game, like I said in the very beginning, this game is like an excellent, like I would argue, like I think overwhelmingly positive, is like one of the best like overall like rating titles that you can have on Steam, and it has that. So like there's something there that people are loving, right? Even though the combat is very simplistic in its design and automated, it definitely has like some cool stuff there. I would say like in a sense it mirrors the lack of control given to the player when when you're traversing the loop, and that's definitely like a very intentional design. Like I said, it's like Lynch described it as a 0-player game or whatever, but so anyway, yeah, you basically as the player can only watch and hope to hell that you've got the wherewithal to quickly defeat the creatures that stand at the end of your blade. Upon defeating the said creatures, you're awarded randomized loot in the form of terrain cards for your deck. You get resources such as rocks, wood, and memories, etc. Those are the things that you can use back at base. And then you also get equipment. So you get weapons, and weapons and armor and accessories and things. So you get like swords, glaives, spears, armor, shields, rings, etc. Those things can all be equipped to the available character slot. So like on the right side, you've got like an inventory. And then right above that inventory is like, your character outfit. And so you can like swap out gear in, whenever you like. You can pause the game in the planning mode, and you can, quickly move gear up and swap it out. The cool thing too is that, it also shows you like a comparison of like what you're currently wearing. And what that new piece is going to give you as far as stats and things. Each weapon and piece of equipment carries with it a randomized perks and stats with varying flavors of rarity. And they also offer percentage-based perks, such as like I mentioned, improved attack speed, evasion, countering, critical damage, things like that. There's like kind of a cool host of things that you can get.
That's cool. Yeah.
And then and this is the other cool thing, right? So like I kind of touched on this briefly. There's the time element in this game, which I think is really important. It's something that the developers very much want the player to be aware of, and that time is actually useful as a resource in certain ways. Like, so for instance, like placing, I think it's like a crystal shard card. Can't remember. Might not be that exact name, but it's like crystal shard. You put that down, and that tile now speeds up time by 50%. So it increases the day-night cycle when you cross that tile, which can be beneficial in that when the day-night cycle completes, you receive a percentage of overall health back as a bonus. Conversely, the same time component can and will introduce new enemies at a faster rate of the loop. So it's a type of game where, like I said, a lot of the cards and mechanics and things have two sides to them. Again, reinforcing that risk versus reward and careful balancing. And the one thing I would say though, like I mentioned with combat, the one gripe I do have centers like around the combat system in this game. Personally, for me, it's like I think it's just a tad too simplistic. Honestly, I think it's probably the weakest link in this game. What I'd like them to do, or I'd like to see maybe, is the possibility that they expand on the combat system in the future to where it's maybe like not so automated, not so simplistic.
Yeah, it'd be
Maybe
cool to
not
have some
simplistic.
control over it, I think.
Yeah, I think maybe even if it's simplistic, like maybe having it not be so automated. So like maybe if they were able to add some combat cards later, I think would be really cool. Just giving the player something where they feel like they're contributing instead of just watching their
Right.
character just bash a bunch of creatures, without any sort of like direction.
Yeah.
And that's sort of annoying too, because like you don't get to, contribute in the combat, and so like you can hover over like enemies, and it'll tell you like their health, their overall health. It'll tell you like a couple things, some things about them. But overall, like you don't have any control. You can't like choose like I want to attack this enemy right now and then this one. Like it just plays out, and like it just goes and attacks whatever enemy it thinks it should attack first.
Yeah.
So that's just a small gripe, but I think it's still, like I said, it's still great, and it feels balanced. You get to see like the risk rewards play out when you
Okay.
have like really good gear, and then like you get into combat and you're just like, you like take out an enemy that used to take you like 5 hits or something, and you take it out in like 1 hit, or you take it out, you hit it for like most of its health, and then it hits you and you counter it and like kill it quickly.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And then basically the last part, which I wanted to come back to, is the second aspect of the game is the campsite, or your home base, right? So in the beginning, I mentioned that, you start out in the campsite. Well, you eventually make your way back there, like I said, either through fleeing to the campsite or you defeat the boss and then you wind up there. But this portion of the game, I think, is like what largely drives the overarching progression system. It's here where base improvements can be made by spending your hard-fought resources. And this is really where I think you get to see like the depth of the game's like RPG roots. So here you can construct buildings like in the campsite, and these buildings can be upgraded too, and they lead to like further perks. They unlock classes, so there's other classes in the game. So like the first class you start out as is the warrior, and
it's just like pretty simple.
Yeah, he's like he can carry like one weapon and a shield. He can wear armor and stuff like that, but like he can't. There's nothing else that you get, as far as I know. Maybe later you unlock stuff and you can unlock additional equipment that you can use with that character. But from what I've played, like you get your sword, shield, and armor, and you can't equip anything else really except for rings. But you can unlock the rogue class, and then I heard there's like a necromancer class, which the necromancer obviously can summon creatures to his aid. I haven't gotten him yet. I've unlocked the rogue, which is pretty cool. He or she can dual wield, and she can wear boots and armor, but she can't use shields. So there's like very like distinct differences, I think, between the warrior and the rogue off the bat. The the other thing that's distinct about him is that the warrior can collect, like you can hit like chests along the way in your travels. With
Okay.
the warrior, you can actually get equipment from those chests and things. And the chests are like very much like Dark Souls, where you know every one of them is like a creature, like a monster lying dormant until you hit it a couple times and it like comes to life and it's got like the raging
Oh
teeth
God.
jump at you,
Yeah.
that kind of thing. Um, and then like so that's kind of cool. But the rogue actually doesn't gain anything from chests. In fact, the rogue doesn't accumulate gear as that character goes around the loop until they make a complete loop at the campsite. Then they get like this like huge, uh, just like tons of gear, just like pour in your inventory, and then you're able to upgrade at that point or whatever. So
Yeah.
some
That's
some
cool.
distinct differences between the classes. And I'm enjoying the rogue a lot too, but he's definitely harder to play. Um, but anyway, these so like the building upgrades and the buildings that you can place like in the campsite actually
Mm-hmm.
um, they play out as like permanent progressive upgrades to your character. So that's pretty cool. I think that's what really drives the roguelite style. I said roguelite, not like, because there is a difference between those. I think I had, I've heard the two terms being used to describe these types of games before, but I kind of had to like look up and determine like what is the difference between those,
Yeah, for sure.
you know? And I think like roguelite style is definitely this game where like you're actually
Mm-hmm.
like progressing, you're gaining things that are permanent
Yeah.
upgrades that will help you in the next run versus like the permadeath, the more punishing like permadeath loss of progression found in roguelikes of the world.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that you and I were playing Risk of Rain. Um,
Is that
some
more
other,
roguelike?
yeah, that's roguelike. Hades is another roguelike, fantastic game. Dead Cells, I'm not a fan of roguelike games. I am a huge fan, I found, of roguelike games because I love the gameplay loop and I like that you actually feel like you've made progression. You didn't just play an hour or two and then
Right.
lost everything and it's like, what was the point of that? Like I don't understand that.
Yeah.
So it's pretty cool. The upgrades are for the campsite too are like presented in like a skill tree type of menu system. He's
Oh,
like,
hi,
I
hi, Taco.
am
He's,
Taco is joining us.
he's
Taco, what are your thoughts on Loop Hero?
yeah.
I'm
What
kind
do
of
you, what do you think about Loop Hero, huh?
like
All right. You're just gonna chill here with me, I see. Yeah, no,
um,
this game sounds really cool. I think even though there's a lot of like you're saying, zero player style gameplay, like there's a lot of cool stuff that you get to do, but it does definitely keep it interesting because there's a lot of deep complexities to it without being overly complex, is kind of
yeah,
what I'm
yeah,
getting from it.
yeah, definitely. Um, yeah, and I would say like it's a fairly casual game. Like it's not like this like hardcore experience. Like I would say like Risk of Rain, Hades, like
Those are a little
even
more,
Dead Cells. They're like a little bit more like hardcore games.
yeah.
Um, this game is not that. Like this is actually probably a game that would do like super well on like mobile.
Mm-hmm.
Um, in fact, I think like the original demo for this game, when they were like kind of playing with the idea for this game in alpha
Mm-hmm.
stage, they actually did release a demo or like a brief version of the game online for free that you could
Yeah.
download for Android and for PC, Linux, and Mac OS.
Mm-hmm.
Again, like this is the first time I've heard of this game. Like up until about 2 weeks ago, I never knew this game existed. Um, but having kind of looked back and done some research about it, like I was able to find that. So I don't know. There's a distinct possibility that this game. I think this game certainly will come to Switch. I think there's no doubt about that.
Yeah.
Um, I don't, I don't know about Android. I think it would do well like on mobile devices like that, but I think it's up in the air right now as far as like
Right.
what they'll release it for.
Mm-hmm.
Um, But the other thing with this game is that it doesn't require like a huge time investment. Like you can play this in small chunks. Um, it really does sort of like make it perfect in that mobile space, I guess, with a little bit
Yeah.
of depth and complexity that you may not find with most mobile games. So I would highly recommend this game. Like I said, initially I was put off by like the whole deck building card deck aspect of it, but believe me, it's very easy to get into, and I think you'll pick it up extremely quick. Yeah. So the other thing, final thing, I'll just mention this real quick, and then we can move on. I mentioned in the beginning that this game actually has sold over 500,000 copies in the first week or so, or the last 2 weeks. Which, like I said, I think is like super good for 4 quarters. Them being like a fairly new developer, really good for them. I'm excited for them. But because of that, they actually came and announced plans already for additional development, such as new character classes, new cards, gameplay improvements, quality of life improvements, things like that, as a thank you to their players and fans for supporting them. And I think one of the most requested quality of life improvements, like currently from players, including myself, is the ability to save mid loop, which for some odd reason it's a feature that's like just completely absent from the game as it stands in its current state. And so that being implemented would be hugely appreciated. Because right now, like if you're playing in a loop and like you don't want to go back to camp and like sacrifice, losing all the gear that you built up. Well, you can't. Like, you basically just have to like minimize the game and like walk away and come back later or something, which is kind of dumb.
Yeah.
There
So there's no save mechanic.
There's a save mechanic if you're at camp, but there's not a save mechanic for when you're like mid loop.
In the loop. Okay,
Yeah,
gotcha.
which is kind of lame. But a lot of people have been saying like fix that. Like that's just bad. And I agree. It's kind of an odd miss for them to not have included that in the release of the game. So, but they're rectifying that. They're fixing that. They already said that they're going to address that, and that's going to be something that they'll put in one of the updates here coming soon. So, I don't know. That's all I got for you guys on Loop Hero. Definitely pick this one up if it sounds like something that you might be interested in, and definitely show these devs some love. They deserve it. This is a fantastic game, and I'm excited to see like kind of what they do with this game in the future. I think it's definitely going to be one to watch. So definitely check that out.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, definitely have to check this out. Golden stamp of approval. Good.
Sorry, I got a little long-winded there, but I was excited about this game, and there's
a lot of really cool mechanics and things like that in the game that I think it, like you said, I think if you just kind of looked at it or were like, oh, it's just it's like a deck building game, you might be turned off by it. But I think you did a really good job of explaining what it is and reasons to definitely go check it out. So
yeah, for sure.
Cool. All right.
Yeah.
Taco, what do you say? Is it time to get into the news section?
Yes.
All right.
I think he's scared him at that. He's like, I'm done.
He likes when I call him. Let's see. All right. So the first bit of news that I have here, there's an Xbox showcase that's been announced, focusing on indies. So it's an indie focused show that will premiere later this month. So ID at Xbox, Microsoft's indie games wing, is teaming up with Twitch to host their first indie showcase on March 26th. Xbox is promising over 100 games at the event, including new debut trailers, gameplay for the titles like Stalker 2.
What?
Yes. Holy shit. This. Oh my god, dude. I can't fucking wait. That. Forget everything else. This is the one thing that I'm there to see.
I literally don't care about anything else. Just show me Stalker 2.
Yeah. Just show me Pripyat. Yes, you show me. We go to 100 Reds bar and we drink vodka, and you show me Stalker 2. Yes, comrade.
Yeah, you got it, man.
So and then it says Second Extinction and more. The ID at Xbox Indie Showcase will premiere on Friday, March 26th at 9 a.m. PT/12 p.m. Eastern Time. Will be hosted exclusively on Twitch. Xbox is promising over 100 games. Yes, they already mentioned that. Total from indie developers worldwide, including from well-known developers like Devolver Digital. Yes. Drinkbox, Curve Digital, and more. Over 25 game reveals and gameplay trailers will also be at the event, though Xbox only names a handful like Stalker 2, Second Extinction, The Ascent, The Wild at Heart, Void Train, and XO1 through Xbox's promo image includes games like 12 minutes. So
I don't know what that is.
I don't know what that is either. Nor do I
In
care.
fact, a lot of those games you just read off, I have no idea what they are. I don't.
Yeah.
remember.
Well,
That's not necessarily a bad thing. I just don't know.
Yeah, so ID at Xbox is, I think, like they, as I specified, is Microsoft's indie wing. They're responsible for bringing some of Xbox more beloved indie titles and AA titles to the platform, including games like Outlast. They had Super Hot, Warframe. Super Hot's excellent, and like the VR, like they have the standard 2D version and the VR version. Those games are awesome. I played the first Outlast, and it was fucking terrifying experience to go through. I think I still have
Is that
PTSD
VR?
from that. Outlast?
Yeah.
I don't think that they have a VR version of that.
Oh my god. How could they not?
I know. That game would definitely, I think, be really interesting to have in VR. Although I try not to play a lot of scary games like that in VR.
I'm looking here. Yeah, apparently. Well, that was 2018. I don't know. I can't. With a quick Google search, I can't see if there's actually a VR version of the game or not. Just like
Yeah, I don't think so. I think they just had the standard edition, and it was on PC and PlayStation 4. I think probably Xbox One. And then they came out with, I think they did like a prequel, which was, it came shortly after the first one, and then they had Outlast 2, which I never played the second one.
Dude, fuck those games, man. I can't.
Yeah, it's tough
terrifying.
because
That's
you
like,
don't have any weapons or anything like that.
that's not my type of game. I used to
Yeah.
love horror games, and then they started coming out with these types of games, and I'm like, nope. It's like I played like what was it? What was the first one? That kind of introduced that.
Amnesia.
Amnesia, yeah.
Yeah.
I tried playing that, dude.
It's so hard. It's so hard. It's
fucking
so
terrifying too.
It is. Yeah, I know. Especially because they have all those mechanics where like the screen distorts and you can't even tell, like the shadows change in the room, and it's like, what the fuck is going on right now? Like, it makes you feel like you're going insane.
Although, you know where they got that? That's like kind of like a Call of Cthulhu mythos like type of mechanic.
Yeah.
Because I remember playing Call of Cthulhu Dark Corners of the Earth, which was like for the PC and Xbox, like the original Xbox.
Yeah.
And it was like a B game. Like, it was like, pretty janky in some aspects, but like what was there was like fucking really well done, like, and terrifying. Like it had the perfect mood and everything, and like, I don't know, man. I still look back and I think fondly of that game because like I beat it and I loved it.
Yeah.
It was great. But it had that mechanic where like if you look at like a creature too long, like your vision would start to get all like blurry and hazy and stuff, and you would hear your heartbeat starting to increase.
Yeah.
And like if you continued to look at the creature long enough, like you would actually start having like an anxiety or like heaving attack or something, and like you would actually die.
That's interesting. Yeah.
It was cool. Like it was a really unique and inspired mechanic that it hadn't been seen in games before. So anyway,
that is really cool. Regardless,
I can't play Outlast.
Yeah, I can't do it.
I didn't even play Resident Evil 7. Like, fuck that.
I didn't really care for Resident Evil 7 anyway. I like the traditional Resident Evil games, like the Resident Evil 2 remake, which is a masterpiece.
Oh my god,
among masterpieces.
That would have been my game. That was my game of the year runner up in 2018 or whatever. 2018.
was 2018.
Sekiro beat it. Yeah.
Either way, I think I'm like ecstatic to hear that Stalker 2 is going to be showing its face at this. I mean, what was that, 2 years ago that they announced like that they were actually working on the game, that GSC Game World was working on it finally.
Yeah. And then they released like a teaser trailer like earlier. Oh no, not
It
earlier.
was the end of last year.
End of last year.
Like
Yeah.
October or November or something. Yeah.
That was like a freaking cock tease. I mean.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah. Well, I think they had, they did have sort of like a teaser trailer, and then they had that other, like, it was sort of like a gameplay trailer where it showed it showed the character in first person going through like the different environments, and the seasons were kind of changing and everything.
It looked like it was done in game, which is always appreciated.
Yeah. Oh, that's what it was. It was an in-game trailer, not gameplay trailer. Yeah, definitely correct myself on that.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, this is exciting. I mean, I'm really like just seeing some of the stuff, like the teases they put out on their Twitter page. They have like art, like concept art and things like that from it. It seems like they're definitely sticking to their roots on like how they did the other Stalker games, but
hopefully a more stable engine this time.
Yes, I think they're not using the X-Ray engine this time around. I want to say they're using like the Unreal Engine.
I thought so. Yeah, I thought that was the case, but
I could be wrong, but I swear I thought it was the Unreal Engine. Which, I mean, you can't go wrong with that. So yeah, I'm really excited to see that. That's like what, next week?
Yeah, that's cool.
So yeah. All right. Well, speaking of big surprises, Bradley. Next Gen VR on PS5. They revealed the new controllers for the PSVR 2.
I did hear about that. Yeah, I did read about it.
Yeah, I think we covered the article in one of the previous episodes, but this is the first time they actually showed what the controller looks like.
Oh, okay.
So what this is interesting, not only because they're putting a lot of like the tech that they put into the PlayStation 5 DualSense controllers, like the adaptive triggers that are kind of like force feedback in a sense.
Yeah.
But they're basically adapting all of that stuff. They're using the haptic feedback, but they're also adapting like finger tracking, like the Index controllers from Valve, from their Index headset.
So is the headset actually changing, or like what?
So yeah, I think they're so there's a lot of really unique stuff that they're doing with, I think, with this. They're obviously going to be increasing the resolution on the headset, so it's not going to be looking through a rusty screen door.
Yeah.
I think the whole tracking situation, I think, is going to be very similar to the Quest, like Oculus, where it's got the inside out tracking, where it's got the cameras that track your controllers and everything. And I think it will also have a camera too to track the headset, so it's probably just like another level of tracking on top of that. But the what was it? The the other thing I wanted to add, like the current PlayStation VR, like I have, it has like a breakout box that you have to connect to like the PlayStation 4 and then to the TV, and then the headset plugs into the breakout box. And it's just very convoluted, and you have like all this extra crap that you got to put on top of your TV stand, and it's just like if you ever unplug it, it's just a pain in the ass to have to like rehook it up all again, And
it sounds complicated.
It is complicated, buddy. So what's nice about this is they said that it's going to be one wire plugged in. I'm assuming it's probably going to be like USB-C, like the DualSense controllers are for the PS5.
Okay.
So you literally just plug it in to the console into the USB port.
And would you say, like, is this VR still probably one of like the cheaper methods or cheaper types to get into VR? Is this going to be like a reason for people to get into it? Because that's something that, like, you're into VR. I've really, I've played your Valve headset, and that was awesome. Like, that was really, actually kind of eye-opening in terms of like what VR was or is.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. And so as
But
far
it's
as
too much money still. It's $1,000 for
yeah,
that, you know?
yeah, for the Valve Index, I would totally agree. That's not like your everyday, every person sort of VR, like your jumping off point to get into VR. Um, it's definitely like if you've had a couple different headsets, you're like, yeah, I definitely know that I'm into it. That's like your last stand, technically.
Sure.
So there's no price feedback on like, what it's going to cost when it comes out that we know of yet, because I think we're still probably like another year or two from release with this thing.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, so they said it's not coming this year, and I think they said it may or may not come next year. I could be wrong.
Yeah.
But the original PlayStation VR was $250. I can't imagine that they're going to charge much more than that. I would imagine them probably at most going the route of like the Quest 2, which
Hmm.
is like I think between 3 and 400.
I
Because
mean,
the well, and like because like I think the Quest 2 has like the smaller, it's like 64 gigs, which is like 300, and then
yeah.
the
Yeah.
125 or whatever it is for 400. But even in that case though, I don't even know that they would. I would say 300 would probably be their max, because I don't think that a lot of people would be like, well, I just spent $500 on a PlayStation 5.
Mhm.
I'm not about to drop another $400 on a headset to go with it. Um, so I don't know. Like
You
it's
never
yeah,
know.
I think Sony usually tries to be like reasonable about this kind of stuff. Um, so I guess we'll just have to wait and see how that goes. I think it would be really cool to have them at a cheaper price point and have like the finger tracking and have all of these like really awesome sort of functions and mechanics built into the controllers and the tracking, that it's
Yeah.
like, well, I could always go and buy an Oculus Quest, but there's a lot of really awesome games that would draw somebody into the PlayStation ecosystem. Like
Sure.
like Blood and Truth, that is like hands down one of the best fucking PlayStation VR games available.
Hmm.
Like it was good enough, and they were able to pull it off where it was still like highly enjoyable even on the PlayStation VR. Um, and there's other games that you play and you're like, I don't know how they made this work, but somehow they make it work. But it's just the whole tracking thing is a bit of a turnoff with what their current situation is with the PlayStation VR.
Hmm.
Um, so yeah, I think yeah, they're basically kind of like overhauling a lot of this. Let's see the different features that they have. So like the interesting thing is like the controller itself looks like an orb.
Huh.
Like so it's got like the handle like you would like the index controllers.
Yeah.
But then
I
it's
haven't
got
seen
like
it.
yeah, I think if you open up the link, it like there's a picture of it in there, but it's got like sort of like the index. It's got that kind of like arch thing on the side that tracks your fingers, but this one kind of on the PlayStation VR kind of
Oh, I
comes
see it.
all the way
Yeah.
around, sort of like a ring on the Oculus, but it's like bigger and it goes all the way around. The only thing I think that would be a little worrisome if it's just like you're playing a game and you like punch the fucking wall. Like how well are they gonna hold up,
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I don't know. It's interesting. I think the really cool parts though are like the adaptive triggers from the DualSense. Being able to have a lot of that really immersive sort of feel, like if you're shooting a gun or something in VR and it's like you have that hard trigger pull, or like knocking an arrow or something like that in your bow, and you
Hmm.
feel like that tension on your finger while you're holding the string back or something, like stuff like that. I think could be really awesome, along with like the
Yeah.
haptic feedback. Um,
I think they've come a long way with that type of stuff because,
mhm.
while a lot of people were sort of like going along with like the traditional approach on things like that, where, you know, they're thinking like, well, how do we increase like the tension in like the triggers, or how do we,
Yeah.
I think better design has shown that no, actually you can stimulate that.
Hmm.
You can trick the mind into believing that that's actually the case when you have
Right.
like haptic feedback and you have, just a
Mm.
little bit of rumble that creates resistance there. It makes it feel like there's actual resistance when there's not. Like,
Right, exactly.
that's really cool. That's some like really crazy engineering.
Mm-hmm. I would really, and I think you probably feel it, and it does trick the mind a little bit more. I think considering that you're wearing the headset, so you're not seeing what's happening with your hand. So I think you're feeling it a little bit more, even so.
Yeah.
Because I would say like the next step would be really cool is if they had like sort of like resistance gloves or whatever. Because I've seen people do that. They're just not super compact at this point yet. There's still like a long cord or like a thick cable that's connected to them, but it's like you can like grab something, like say you grab a rock in game or whatever, it like pulls back on your fingers so it doesn't let you go any farther through that object. It's like you're holding it, you know.
Okay. Yep. That's
Um
cool. Yeah, I've heard about that too.
yeah, so like that kind of stuff is really interesting. So yeah, yeah, I'm curious to see how they go forward with all of this stuff. I mean, I still don't have a PlayStation 5, but I think if they had something like this would probably push me to get a PlayStation 5.
So like Walmart actually received stock yesterday, the 18th.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And I was they were I think like part of their whole approach was to like stop people from like buying it up completely, but it still didn't work. I mean, I got on, it was like they were gonna say like at 3 p.m. Eastern, they were gonna release them. And it's like I freaking like reset the page and boom, it was there, and I was able to add it to my cart. And then like and then I like went to cart, and it like brought the captcha thing up there, and I like clicked the captcha thing as fast as I could. And then like all of a sudden it brings up a new one after loading for like a few seconds.
What the fuck?
Going through that, and then it's like it brought up another one. And then like by the time I got to my cart, it was like, sorry, it was gone. Like,
oh my god.
What the hell? Like,
that's really dumb.
It's so dumb. Like, that's the problem, man. And this is a wide scale problem. It's not even just a Sony issue.
It's a lot of different things.
Yeah, I mean the pandemic, and sort of all the things that caused in manufacturing has not helped things. It's really only contributed to them.
Mm-hmm.
But also, if you look at like NVIDIA, like GPUs and things like that, you couldn't get, because of crypto mining and various other things, like you said, the pandemic and other contributing factors. It's been so difficult to get those. Like I've been trying to build, as you know, a new PC rig, and I'm trying to get my hands on a Ryzen 9 5900X processor. And I've literally been like in like a wait list for that processor.
The hell?
2 months now.
That's ridiculous.
I've gotten emails like every week, and they keep pushing the date back, and they keep pushing it back. Now it's like March 30th or something. And I'm like, fuck. Like, that's the problem. Like the people that actually want those things can't get them.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, people are just like snatching them up and then price gouging everybody on eBay and wherever they can sell them. It's
right.
Yeah, it's a big problem. Yeah.
The problem with that is that it's not going to change until the retailers actually set precedent on that.
Yeah.
They have to say, nope, on specific items, PS5, NVIDIA GPUs, whatever, processors, Ryzen processors, whatever it is, I don't know. Like, you cannot go above this price because we consider that to be price gouging.
Yeah, I think they should fucking do something about that. That's ridiculous. I mean, people already like are hurting for money or whatever, especially within the pandemic. People aren't working, but it's like, some people get their stimulus checks or whatever, and maybe they want to like kind of treat themselves because they've kind of been going through a lot of like shit and want something to take their mind off of everything that's going on. It's like, I just want to get a PlayStation 5 and fucking play some games. Like it's bullshit. It really is. So yeah, that sucks, man.
I know.
I'd be tempted to get one, but I'm still like kind of waiting to see more games that come out for the PlayStation 5 before I kind of pull the trigger on it. Not that I could anyway, even if I wanted to.
Yeah, for me, it was just kind of like a whim. Like I just happened to read an article like yesterday, and it was like, oh, they're gonna have stock, and then Amazon was gonna have stock, and I guess that like got pushed back or something. But then I happened to see Walmart was gonna have stock, so I was like, oh, let me just like try. I'll at least try to get it. And
Yeah.
I was just like, whatever. I just
Uh.
gave up after that.
You're like,
So,
I'm hungry. I'm gonna go get something to eat.
yeah, pretty much. I was at work too, so I was like limited, time to try to
Oh,
do it.
right.
But
Yeah.
so anyway, but yeah, it didn't work out. Which whatever. It's like you said, there's not much on PS5 right now anyway. But it was still the
Yeah.
principle. Like it'd be nice to be able to just buy like even the Nintendo Switch. I think is like still short stock. Like
Really? Still?
yeah, I think you still can't get one for less than like $400.
Wow. Well,
They're,
if you're thinking about getting a Switch, I would hold off because they did announce they're coming out with
yeah,
the new Switch, which I hope they really. We've been like me and the guys in the group have been talking
yeah, I
about it.
heard
We're like,
that.
we hope they call it the Super Nintendo Switch. That's what it needs to be called.
They have a duty to do so.
Yes, a duty.
It's for king and country, okay?
Exactly. Yeah. No, I think, yeah. So I think like it'd be cool to see, what comes of that as well.
Yeah, sure.
All right. Well, speaking of immersive digital things, my friend, Gamescom is going to be a hybrid digital and physical event in 2021. I'm going to probably butcher this, but Coln Mess has announced that Gamescom 2021 will be a hybrid event with in-person and digital sections. The team behind the huge European gaming show asked the community what they wanted from this year's event, using feedback to inform how the Cologne convention would take shape in 2021. In this quote, he said, "In addition to the digital aspects, the possibility of trying out the latest games on site and diving into the game world from an integral part of Gamescom, the release reads, this is why Gamescom 2021 is going to be staged as a hybrid event and thus unite the best of both worlds, physical and digital. So this is going to be taking place from the 25th to the 29th of August of this year, and feature an entertainment area similar to the previous years, albeit with a reduced amount of on-site visitors, with attendees will be able to test new games on site. This will be complemented by a digital queue management system to control crowds. Okay. There will be an event area that offers space to host esports competitions, cosplay contests, as well as an expanded business area to provide trade visitors with optimal networking conditions under current conditions. Let's see. The digital output will be further developed in tandem with Colmess looking to create a central meeting point on the web for gaming fans all over the globe. Those exhibiting at the event will be able to organize their participation flexibly, and Gamescom shows such opening night live will also return.
What is that? Do we know?
I don't know. Further to see.
I'm not sure what opening night live is, but
Well, it might
actually,
just be like the first night.
oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
Opening night would indicate, yeah, but I don't know.
Yeah,
It
I
just-
know Star Citizen usually does their thing at Gamescom.
Sure.
Um,
I had a buddy that actually went to Gamescom. This is like
that's cool.
Tristan. Actually, he went to Gamescom. This was actually before The Witcher 3 came out, so he was able to actually meet the CD Projekt team.
That's really cool. That's awesome.
And kind of cool. He actually gave me it was like the Playboy with Triss.
Oh yeah, I was
Yeah,
telling
and
one
he
of my
actually
buddies about that.
yeah, he was able to pick that up because he had gone to he was in Poland,
Hmm.
and I think, and he had gotten that, and then he went to Gamescom, I think, after, if I'm not mistaken, and yeah, he was able to get the team to like sign that for me, and so I have that Playboy with Triss naked on the cover with like some signatures from the dev team, CD Projekt dev team. So that's
Oh,
pretty cool.
that's really cool. Yeah, I was telling the guys about that, and they're like, "That's freaking awesome."
Yeah.
Um, I was looking here to see if like I don't see anything about like having like a digital sort of, how like the Summer Game Fest they did last year. They had
Mm.
like demos and things you could download from Steam to be able to like try them
Oh
out if
right.
you're not able to
Yep.
go to the event. I hope that they do something like that, because I mean it's like they should be sort of like encompassing everybody to be able to sort of participate in it without having to be there
Right.
and like wait in the queue to play them and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, it'd be cool.
Yeah, so it seems like more events are starting to do that.
Yeah.
But yeah, let's see. Gamescom approaches in contrast to E3 2021, which will be a digital focused event with a live event seemingly canceled, according to LA City documents. So I don't know. We'll see. We'll see how that turns out. Are you tired of COVID blues, Bradley? Well,
Yes.
Sony. Sorry. Well, Sony is giving away 10 free PlayStation games for Play at Home 2021. I guess they started this back in February. Sony confirmed the return of the PlayStation Play at Home program that allows for fans at Team Blue to enjoy more free games. The initiative was to kind of help people in 2020, with much of the world under isolation, kind of give them some free games and showing them some love, dealing with all of this garbage. So, I think, let's see, Play at Home 2021 began earlier this month with Ratchet and Clank on March 1st as a freebie. I wonder if that's the 2016 one. I think it is, which is like also based on the movie that they came out with, which if you guys are interested, go watch Fanboy, or not Fanboy and the Snob, the Great Nerd Debate, which is on Just Your Average channel. You can get them on audio podcasts and as well on YouTube. It was me and my buddy AJ. We were contesting the Sonic movie against Ratchet and Clank to see which movie was the best. I can't tell you who won. You'll just have to watch it. But I'll tell you after the show. Yeah, so that was cool. But yeah, so March 25th heralds an extended access period for anime lovers with Funimation, and that was just the start of the Play at Home program that is ongoing until June. March 25th is when the Play at Home celebration kicks up, a notch with 10 free titles to enjoy. Some of the games included are amazing picks for those gamers that are also looking for a little more peace in their off time. So let's see, what do we got here? A full list of free games arriving on March 25th. There's Abzu, Enter the Gungeon, Res Infinite, Subnautica, The Witness, Astrobot Rescue Mission, Moss, Thumper, and Paper Beast. And I think a couple of those are actually PlayStation VR titles, which is really cool. Moss and I think Astrobot Rescue Mission, Paper Beast, and I think Thumper. I think those four are actually PlayStation VR games. So that's really cool.
Yeah, The Witness is pretty good. I didn't complete it. I was playing it on PC. I was playing it there for a while.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've heard that's really good.
Very Myst-like, but
yeah.
Kind of has like an interesting art style to it.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure.
And Res, I mean, I played the shit out of Res on the PS2. I have that game still. It's great.
Yeah, I think this is like the remaster of it, isn't it? Or remake or something.
Maybe it is. Yeah, I can't recall what it is, but yeah, I freaking loved Res.
I think it's like a remaster or something. So yeah, so keep an eye out for those games. That's really cool. Oh, also teased an even bigger announcement in April, in addition to Horizon Zero Dawn, the complete edition, going free between April 19th and May 14th.
I heard about that. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, so that's cool. I mean, it's on PC now, which is awesome, and now you'll be able to get it for free, the complete edition for free on PlayStation during those times. So, well, that's all the bit of news that we got. So let's move into the new and upcoming releases. I pulled some pretty cool stuff here. The first one we have is Narita Boy. So this is like a retro futuristic pixel game. You explore and fight in a retro futuristic world, swim deep into, I don't know what that word is, oniric, poetic, and unique experience across dimensional planes. The aesthetic of the game was inspired by retro pixel adventures, Castlevania, Another World, Double Dragon, with a modern touch, and it has like some really cool 80s plot homage to like Ready Player One, He-Man, The Last Starfighter. I even got vibes of like Tron in there and stuff. Super cool looking, and it's accompanied by the retro synth touch of the old glory days. So this is going to be available on Nintendo Switch, PS4, Xbox One, and PC. And I think it's also coming to Xbox Game Pass. I saw it was in there. I actually pre-downloaded it because it looks freaking cool. The art style is awesome looking, like 2D, 3D kind of side scroller. This comes out March 29th. Yeah, I'm super excited to play that. And what was the other one? Oh, here we go. Paradise Lost. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say Paradise Lost. Man, I haven't heard of this game. Actually, maybe I just saw this recently. It looks interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, it looks like it says explore a mysterious bunker in post-apocalyptic Europe in Paradise Lost. After the Nazis used nuclear weapons to destroy most of Europe during World War II, take control of a child exploring its depths decades later. And it's actually on Steam now. If you just hop on there and take a look, it's a first-person exploration game, adventure game, simulation. I would think probably in the vein of what was the is it Go Home, or what was that game?
Gone Home.
Gone Home. Yeah. Probably something like that.
Yeah, this looks really cool.
It definitely looks interesting. When I first saw that here, I was thinking of Paradise Lost. The
2D side scroll and like the Alien game, kind of like Carry On in a sense.
Yeah, it's Paradise Lost First Contact, which is in development, maybe still, by Ash Tree Works. It was kickstarted by them.
That was like what, 4 years ago?
No, this is like freaking like 8 years ago.
All right, my bad.
This is like back in 2011. They're based in Spain. That's what I thought this was, and I was like getting excited, like, oh wow, like maybe they're coming out finally. But
yeah, no, I know that's what I thought when I saw the title when I was pulling them. Yeah, this looks pretty cool. I think this is coming out. You said March 24th. And it's PS4, Xbox One, and PC. The next one we got is Monster Hunter Rise. This is the next Monster Hunter game to come out. This is going to be only on Switch, March 26th. And I think this is kind of going back more towards like the traditional style Monster Hunter games versus like Monster Hunter Worlds, which kind of like I think was a good gateway to try and get more people into the Monster Hunter games and things like that. So it looks really cool though. So if you like the Monster Hunter games, I think you'll probably dig on that. This game I've kept in my new upcoming releases because it's been like pending sort of like March 2021 for a while now. But Disco Elysium, the final cut, is coming on PS4, PS5, PC, and Switch. And it actually has a release date now of March 30th. So in Disco Elysium, you play as a detective who wakes up in a rundown coastal district with a banging headache and only a few dregs of memory left. You set out to discover what happened to him and inside the unique world we've created. But what's cool about the final cut is this adds, like, because there's a ton of, Brad, there's a ton of reading, and dialogue and stuff in the game amongst like you and the characters that you meet in the world. But what they're doing with the final cut is it's going to be fully voice acted. Every single character is going to be uniquely voice acted, and I think that's like probably the best experience to play this game if you do want to play it. So
you haven't experienced it, yeah.
I've been waiting, ever since, like, I wanted to play it when it first came out, but then I heard about this and I was like, I'll definitely wait. That seems like it's a good reason to go to it.
Yeah, I actually bought this game shortly after it came out when it was still on sale for like $32 or something. It's a fantastic game. It's so damn good. It's just like steeped in like tone, just like just dripping with just so many cool like I don't even know like film noir
like
style
vibes and stuff.
vibes, yeah, and like the tone and everything is just like the music is fantastic. The dialogue is like fucking like out of this world, like just so good. Yeah, it's a fantastic game. I can't really recommend this game enough. I actually didn't complete it myself, so I feel like a little bit of a loser saying go play this game, but no,
Yeah.
it really is. Like I got away from it for a little while and I've been meaning to get back to it, but then about like a few months ago they announced this and I figured, all right, I still got it installed. I'll wait. I'll wait until they release the final cut and I'll go back and actually finally finish this game or start it again. But
I'm debating whether I want to play this on PC or if I want to play it on Switch.
I don't think you can go wrong on either platform. I mean, it's not a game that's like super graphically intensive or anything.
Right.
It's very stylized, like watercolor-esque. It's got
I
that
love
sort
that
of
about it. Yeah.
dreaminess to it.
That's cool.
Yeah. So I think that'll be cool to see that final cut come out.
Sweet. Yeah, so keep an eye out for that one. The next one I found was Drifters. This game looked really cool. Let me pull this up real quick here. Damn it, what the? Drifters game.
Is that the sound that your computer makes when it's trying to search for a website?
Yeah. Searching.
Like,
use the power of my mind to find it.
Exactly.
Yeah, so this is this game looked really cool, like the art style and everything looks interesting. So it says Drifters loot the galaxy, delivers manic drift pack fueled aerial and ground combat in the most exhilarating team-based shooter ever created. A ragtag team of intergalactic raiders who engage in ruthless battles in the seediest depths of the universe. All drifters come armed with high-powered drift packs, grappling hooks, and an arsenal of sci-fi weaponry. Drifters is the ultimate way to explore space, battle rival squads, and plunder for cosmic booty till it hurts.
I do have to say I'm a little skeptical when a publisher or a game developer comes out with a description like that and says the most exhilarating team-based shooter ever created. That's pretty freaking those are some pretty big words. I mean, come on. It's free to play, but like I would come to expect a lot of the free to play games, in my opinion, I actually kind of steer clear of them. And maybe some people will disagree with me on this, but I just feel like, when it comes to free to play, nothing is free to play. They're always looking for some microtransaction between you and the game, to in one form or shape or the other. It's just that's what it is, right?
Yeah.
I will say this game actually does look pretty cool. I'm looking at it right now. Graphically, it looks unique. It's got like more cartoony,
like
cell shaded.
I was gonna say, like a cell shaded kind of cartoony-ish look to it.
Yeah, like Sly Cooper.
Oh god damn it! Why can't they come out with another Sly Cooper game?
They're gonna give you the Sly Cooper movie, but never a new game.
Pretty sure that got canceled back in like 2017.
Oh, they won't even give you that. Okay.
Yeah.
Fucking
yeah. Because it's the same company that did Ratchet and Clank, Jack and Daxter, Insomniac. Yeah. Well, hold on a second. Yeah, it was Insomniac, and I think it was partnered with like Sucker Punch. Yeah. Which Sucker Punch went on to do Ghost of Tsushima eventually after like the infamous games and everything. So it would be cool to see them like kind of return to some of their old like games like that. I think would be awesome. Yeah. But yeah, it was talked about doing the movie for Sly Cooper, and then it just kind of fell off. And man, it would have been awesome.
Yeah.
All right, yeah. So that's all of our new and upcoming releases. Let's get into the pixel to pixel section. I'm gonna do our mentions here. So again, the pixel to pixel is talking about New Game Plus Network. Basically, we're reaching out to streamers, YouTubers, podcasters, prop game merch creators, artists, anybody who has something interesting that they could bring to the table in terms of the gaming space. We're looking to help people get kind of recognized, connect them with others, help them get started if they're looking to start a channel, interview these people who, whether you're looking to start something or your experience, and maybe kind of get you some insight on how to get a channel started, maybe get the questions that you're looking for answered, or if you're just looking to collaborate with somebody. Personally, we know how difficult and hard it can be to like start a podcast or a Twitch channel or YouTube channel or something like that. It's very difficult, especially if you don't know like what kind of direction you want to take it, or or who you want to, or you don't have anybody to start with. You can reach out to us. We're trying to help make things a little bit easier for you. Working together as a community is so much better than trying to do it alone. And so you can reach out to us. You can message me on Instagram at digital_denizens or Facebook at digital denizens. And you can kind of, if you want to come on the show or if you want to get an invite to our Discord, so that way you can start chatting with people on there. It's also just a great place to come and chat with people about games, and just like kind of hang out and have fun there too. Or post butt memes. We do have a butt section there for butt memes.
What?
It's just a section called butt memes, and people just post like cartoonish butt memes there. Yeah, don't fucking judge me, all right? I wasn't even the one who created that, but I thought it was funny. But yeah, so
the origins of 4chan.
yes, exactly. Yeah. So yeah, this is, if you want to, ask any questions, please hit us up. And if you're watching, we'll put the links for all of that stuff down below. So I'd like to make a few mentions to who I'm collaborating with, which you may have seen or may see in the future on the show. We have Just Your Average Channel / Fanboy and the Snob. Those are two separate channels, but they're run by Chad Paquin. We have Chris and Chris B. And they run the JYA channel podcast that covers games, comics, and movies and TV. Well, sorry, Just Your Average Channel is like games and like kind of all sorts of different topics and things like that, but they're hilarious. The Fanboy and the Snob is their comics, movies, and like kind of TV sort of relevant thing. And then they've recently started doing the Great Nerd Debate, where we pick a topic and we have to kind of debate each other on why that thing is better than the other person's topic. So like I did an episode where we watched, or well, no, the Fanboy and the Snob, we did Johnny Mnemonic, and we talked about the movie after we watched it. But me and AJ, we went head to head. We did, he picked Sonic the Hedgehog, the movie. I picked Ratchet and Clank. We argued like little children about why mine was better than the others. I also went head to head against Leslie about the greatest villain. I picked Frau Engel from Wolfenstein. She picked Kefka from Final Fantasy VI. I lost like a little bitch. There's no way to win against that. I mean, it's the ultimate villain. And then AJ and Matt also went against each other on which Zelda game was the best. AJ picked Breath of the Wild. Matt picked Ocarina of Time. And
Ocarina's clearly the better game.
that was the one that
There's
won.
no debate. There's no debate.
Yeah. I don't know. They both argued their points extremely well, though. I was like, wow, I need to step up my game the next time I go on. So that was really cool. So that's some cool stuff to look forward to. Again, they're on like all audio podcasts, like Spotify, Google, Apple, all of that stuff, Overcast, Anchor, and then they also have their have them on YouTube, the video versions, if you want to watch them there. let's see, and you can find them on Instagram at JYA channel. And there's a link in the bio for their they have a link tree in there, so it's easy to get to like all of their content just within that alone. The next one we got is Devoted Saint Retro. That is Matt Philandro. He creates game art with woodworking using a CNC machine. He creates like controller stands with LEDs, NES, SNES, N64, Sega Genesis, and Game Boy cart stands. I think Chad also had a stand for like his old like OG Game Boy to like put on his shelf.
That's cool.
Yeah, so yeah, really cool stuff like that. He makes like PlayStation, Xbox logo, Nintendo Switch logo signs. He also does like commission stuff too, like custom things. So if you contact him and you're like, "This is kind of what I'm looking for. Can you make this?" 9 times out of 10, he'll probably be able to. He's actually in the making of making like one of the wooden Pokeballs from I think the newest one they just announced, which was like Pokemon Arceus, I think. So it's like these really cool, like retro looking Pokeballs that they have in the game versus like the normal red and white ones. It's kind of like steampunkish looking. So he's making that. It looks really cool. So you can find him on Instagram at Devoted Saint Retro, and in his shop link, you can find in his bio. You can also go to devotedsaintretro.com, and he actually recently started doing a Twitch channel, which we were on last night playing Rogue Heroes on the Switch, and his is twitch.tv/devotedsaintretro. We have Leslie Morales, Sector 7 Item Shop. She also creates gaming related merch and art. You can find her shop. You can find it in Sector 7 Slums around the corner. Hang a left and just dash up the stairs.
I like that.
Yeah. You can find her on Instagram at Sector 7 Item Shop, and she's also got a link tree. Man, link tree just makes everything so much fucking easier. It really does. You know, instead of having to like post all these links on your Instagram or whatever social media, it's just you click on the link tree and then it's like, bam, you have a whole list of everything you want right there. So yeah, hers is in the bio as well. And yeah, go check out both Matt and Leslie's art. Like they have some really cool stuff. I think Leslie also does sort of commission things too. So if there's something you don't see there that you want that's gaming related, she could possibly make it as well. Both very talented. The next one is Josiah DeAndrea, also known as Vile Shrew. He's a Twitch streamer and YouTube content creator. He's been on the show before and will most likely show up from time to time. You can find him over on twitch.tv/Vile Shrew and youtube.com/Vile Shrew. And so he does like kind of a whole mix of different games that you'll find. Depending on whether it's like CSGO, Valorant, he does like Fall Guys. I mean, it changes from day to day, honestly. But he also does bar streams too. So if you guys want to check that out, like making like some really cool mixology sort of drinks and all that kind of stuff is really awesome. There's also an episode where he made his wife drink all sorts of whiskeys and is absolutely her least favorite alcohol known to man. So the reactions
So watching
were just,
her reactions is probably like
yeah, it was
pretty
priceless. Yeah. Yeah, he's got like a really awesome sort of personality on his channels. It's great. Let's see. We also got AJ Volpe, known as All for Gamers. He also has a shop through his Instagram where he sells gaming merch, and his biggest, like, he actually, you might want to check it out. He actually sells like a lot of old like gaming carts and stuff for like NES and SNES and like Sega Genesis. Like between him and his brother-in-law, I think they kind of sell like games on there that they've like collected or picked up here and there. But they also sell sort of like they have these little tiny arcades, like mini arcades. I actually just got one. Trying to keep this one a secret because I know this one's for Flynn. But it's can you see it?
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, it's actually based off of the Ninja Turtles 1989 arcade cabinet.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's got like April on the side and everything, like the art and everything is on it.
Cool concept.
Yeah, and so it's actually got the little buttons and everything on there. You can actually play it on the little LCD screen. You can put it in your pocket. You can play it in the back seat of the car.
And the
On the,
actual game, you could play the actual game on that?
yeah, it's the whole game on there.
What?
Yeah, he's also got like mini pinball, little
That's
mini
cool.
mini pinballs and stuff. Like they have the Ninja Turtles pinball machine. Yeah, they're super cool. So there's like those. There's even like these other little ones that are like this big. They're, little like rectangular looking ones that they have
Yeah.
different games like Pac-Man, Tetris, Galaga, all of those like old school ones. Like a lot of the
That's
name
cool.
like the Namco arcade games and stuff.
That's really cool.
Yeah. And then he also has like mystery boxes where like you'll get some like a random arcade cabinet in there, and then you also get like NES little like candies or whatever in a tin or something, just like really cool little things. But you can find him on Instagram at All for Gamers, allforgamers.com, Facebook at All for Gamers, twitch.tv /A4GZ, and youtube.com/all4gamers. So he actually just recently started Twitch streaming. He's been playing Stardew Valley, which Haley's been extremely invested in seeing how that adventure turns out. and he's also been doing a Let's Play of Blue Fire on Nintendo Switch as well, which is a really cool game. It's sort of, I think it's kind of like a rogue like or roguelite. I don't know which one it is. I'm still confused on what the difference is.
Roguelite is like progressive, and roguelike is punishing and no progression. You die and you lose everything. You have to start all over again.
You just want to rage quit every time you play.
Yeah, exactly. You want to like smash the controller.
Oh my god, that's funny. So I think we got two more. And Andre Vanger, also known as Fingers421. He's also a Twitch streamer. He does a lot of Valorant and stuff like that. And he's on Instagram at Fingers421 and twitch.tv/Fingers421. Fucking hilarious guy. He's also been on the podcast once. Can't get enough of that guy. He's freaking awesome. Hilarious. And then the last one we got is, as I mentioned, I was playing Pixelot on Steam. Kyle Berger. This is, his game Pixelot, which is a Final Fantasy sort of pixel art, turn-based style type of game. And that's coming out on Android, iOS, and Steam on March 30th. And so thank you again for, lending me a key, lending me your life in my hands to play your game. Hopefully we can get you on the show to talk about it sometime soon. And you can find him on Instagram at iceburger3 and also pixelotgame.wordpress.com. So yeah, those are a lot of people that we've had on the show and have been working with. And so the last bit is the retribution corrections. If you guys are not familiar, we're counting on you guys to help us build this podcast into something really great and worth your listen. So if we happen to kind of get anything wrong or mischaracterize things from time to time, which we can do, lots of things we get wrong, this is your opportunity to help us so we can set the record straight in future episodes. We're counting on you guys to hold our feet to the fire, so please don't burn us too badly. And if you're watching the video links, we'll put the links down below for social media if you guys want to write in for corrections. So I think that's all the time that we have for today. So thank you again, Brad, for joining us. Everybody knows.
Thanks for having me.
Everybody now knows that you're alive still.
Yeah, barely surviving. No, I'm just kidding.
I'm keeping him locked in that room.
Yeah.
Keep the camera on.
I haven't left this room in over a year.
We just slip food scraps under the door. It's fine. It's fine. So yeah, no, this is awesome. Thank you again for joining me. This is awesome. I had a great time. And thank you for talking to us about Loop Hero. That game seems really cool. So you guys definitely go check that out.
Check out Loop Hero.
Yeah. So, all right, well, that's all the time we got for today's podcast. We hope that you guys enjoyed what you guys heard, and truly appreciate you guys listening in for another episode of Digital Denizens. You have no idea how much it truly means that we're able to do the podcast, that you guys listen and write in. And as I always say, hit that like and subscribe button and keep your ear to the ground for more to come very soon, guys. Thanks. Peace.
Thank you.
You are listening to Digital Denizens.